Just to recap what we did, we spoke about our performance. We spoke about our latest addition, how we think about capital calls and cash in the portfolio. When do we go into cash and when do we invest and when do we get ourselves fully deployed? And finally, why did we actually cut our IT exposure late last year? And why are we significantly overweight auto ancillaries today? Two more points before I kind of conclude this and open the floor to questions. Many people have asked us, you've been cautious, bearish the US markets for a while now. Will you ever turn the other way? So obviously markets means macro, it doesn't mean micro. So I have to use macro variables in order to get to a certain thought process around why we are cautious. It's important to understand what this equity risk premium means. So in the US, equity risk premium is saying the difference between the S&P yield versus the 10-year bond yield. What does this mean? So assume that S&P of the index, the PE multiple that you give to the index is 20. Okay, the earnings yield is 5%, which is basically 100 divided by 20, which means price divided by the PE multiple is the earnings yield of the equity portfolio. That's what it means. And against that, I have the opportunity cost of going to the fixed income market, which is the 10-year bond yield if I do that. Because S&P, if you go into equities, most people think 10 years. So you compare it to the 10-year bond yield. So what does this chart tell me? Every time the S&P yield goes significantly higher than the bond yield, equities become attractive. So let's say 2008, when the crisis actually hit, look at what happened in this part. The PE dropped significantly, right? As well as interest rates dropped. So you got a crisis, which effectively meant it was a great time to invest in equities, but people panic. So every time there is a spike in S&P minus 10-year yield, it is a great time to invest, but it also means it's a panic. Look at 10 and 11. This was when the Euro crisis and the Greek crisis hit. Look at 2020. It was when the COVID hit. And where we are today is almost 1.4%. What this means is there is only, I'm getting paid 1.4% risk premium additional for investing in equities versus what I can get if I just go and buy 10-year treasuries. And if people are telling me at that premium, and it's never happened in the history of US over the last 12 years, right? So at that premium is where people are now, HNIs in India are taking money in the name of diversification and putting it in the US. And I don't know why, right? So why will I continue to want to invest in US equities when I get my least equity premium for investing in US equities? The concept that is sold as diversification, do I believe in it? Not really, not at when the probability of me losing money becomes extremely high. So just to put it into context, we're not cautious because I feel like being cautious. We're cautious because valuations don't make sense. Macro is not favorable and risk reward is not favorable.